Hello and welcome to Everyday Eternal number 112, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly legacy podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our brand new Patreon supporter, Joel Grenehead. I actually tried to look up how to pronounce that. I hope I didn't butcher it too much. If you want to support the running of the show directly, you can do so on patreon.com/everydayeternal. Callum, it's been a while now, actually like 2 or 3 weeks. How have you been doing, man? What's going on that crazy island you call your home?
Just gotta start with the beer.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it has felt like a bit longer than usual, hasn't it? What's been going on? Good question. Not too much, actually. I've been really taking it kind of easy. I've been trying to, before COVID, I used to kind of promise to do everything and say yes to everything and all the time, and it'd get exhausting doing so much stuff like after work and stuff. And I've been actively trying to just take a step back, chill out a bit more, and like I haven't been playing many games online as well the last few weeks and stuff, and just kind of, just chilling out, being chill. Isn't that exciting? So I don't have a huge amount to add here. I've still been playing a couple of leagues online, playing a bit of Cube, playing Warhammer as I've been getting into recently as well, and stuff like that. But nothing serious. I think part of the excitement to play online with like tournaments becoming worth less and less is kind of getting to me gnawing away a little bit. So my enthusiasm has kind of dropped off from playing the bigger events, but still playing like Legacy and Paper, which is just an absolute blast. So we have our next monthly coming up this weekend, which I'm just like everyone I'm just getting more excited for, I think. So yeah, I think Paper Play is just exactly where all my enthusiasm is directed to at the moment.
Oh yeah, that sounds very familiar to me. Like I gotta say, I've played not nearly as many leagues, let alone challenges, than I used to over the last couple of weeks, and like just being able to play in Paper again is a big part of that. Even though I guess I only really played in a couple of tournaments and then once or twice at our Tuesday night meetings, because even though I have the entire month off, dude, I still can't believe it.
Yes, yeah, we'll ask you that in a second. What are you doing? But I think part of my not playing much online is I think I have signed up for 2 challenges and gone like 0-2 drop both times. So
what did you play?
I played Painter both times. Like one time I think I was just playing badly and I just signed up to get the Sunday challenge to fire or something. And the last time I just, I lost a close one to Blue Red Delver and then got like turn 2'd by Depths a couple of times, and them's the breaks in it. It just happens sometimes. Like I look back on 1 or 2 of the games and I definitely like sequence things wrong. So you've got to be in the right frame of mind to win in Legacy still. But you've got a month off, so you've had your week into it. What are you doing?
Yeah, I've basically had the first 10 days off thus far, and I think I just told you earlier, today was the first day I think I didn't go and play with my 2 nieces, because that's what I've been doing pretty much almost every single day ever since I have my days off. And yeah, I guess it also helps out my mother quite a bit, because she usually takes care of them while my sister's at work. And yeah, especially last week, I would basically come over every single day and I would take them to a playground and everything. Had a really great time.
That's great.
It's just like so
Are they
cute.
the ones that you're like skateboarding with?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, actually, we gotta try that next time again. And it's so cute, that they're 4 and 2. And whenever you introduce them to something, they're like, oh, no, I already know how to do that. I'm like, okay, you know how to skateboard, really?
They're those kind of kids that know everything already. Julian's like, okay, so this is a Korean Ranger. They're like, oh yes, I got loads of them already. It's okay.
It's like, yeah, sure, Korean Ranger. Like, everybody got that. Julian, please. Are you still playing 4? Most people play 3 now. What's going on, man? You're not up to date, man. You're losing it.
Yeah.
No, it's so cute because like I was going to call her the elder one, the older one. she speaks English, actually. She picked up like a lot of English from her best friend, and she like, her pronunciation is like spot on. Like I might have talked about this before because it really blows me away. But like the way she pronounces the colors and stuff, like, dude, you're like a native speaker. You're not German at all. And she's like, oh no, that's just like what my friend says. I'm like, okay, can she teach me?
Amazing. I guess they pick it up a lot from just kind of TV or radio, just like randomly listening to stuff and things.
Yeah, I guess. And like if nobody ever like mispronounced the stuff, and like the English version is the only thing you've ever heard, I mean, you're probably naturally just gonna pronounce it right. But yeah, it still blows me away.
Yeah, amazing. Do you have any other plans for the rest of your month? or 3 weeks?
I've been talking a lot about that I want to finish the Everyday Eternal website. I made huge progress last week. That's basically the second biggest thing I did last week. And hopefully very soon. Very soon. There's like, we talked about this in previous episodes, right? There's always this one extra thing you want to add, but I think there's one big extra thing I want to add, and I'm just going to cut it off because otherwise I'm never going to finish. And then maybe we'll add other stuff over time, but it's coming. It's coming.
I'm excited to see it.
Awesome. Also, by the way, shout outs to Cantrip Cartel, the podcast that I was a guest on yesterday. I think they are releasing on Thursday this week, so definitely check them out. We had a 2-hour talk about real estate prices and NASCAR Indy racing in Indiana. I think we also talked a little bit about Legacy, so definitely check that out. And of that, there was a lot of Legacy being played this and last week, actually. There's lots of results coming in, and why don't we just jump in and take a look at the results of a couple of those. So the first one is going to be the Swedish Legacy Nationals, then the Legacy Challenge. We're also going to talk a little bit about the special RAGABANNED Tournament that Anorak hosted, and then we're going to look forward to Eternal Weekend. And well, I don't know if you've seen some recommendations, but I got some, so maybe we're gonna look into that later on.
Sounds good, definitely.
Awesome. So the first one, Swedish Legacy Nationals, 106 players, played somewhere in the south of Sweden. And we're gonna link the deck lists in the show notes, and holy shit, this website really takes you back. Have you opened it now? This looks hilarious. I'm loving it. I'm really loving the vibe.
This is it's very, very old Magic feeling. There's a French one that looks very similar as well.
This exports the deck lists to Magic Workstation. Do people still use Magic Workstation?
And Apprentice as well. Yeah.
But when I stopped playing Magic Workstation, Apprentice was the new thing, and I think people now they have even more modern technology.
It even gives you the price in that little gold, the Magic Card Market kind of money thing. This is cool. I like it. I like this more than the deck list that Goldfish spits out, where it's got playsets of everything, but then randomly one card from a playset is in front of another playset.
That's literally the worst. Dude, I think that in some European countries actually outlaw that. I'm pretty sure Belgium passed a law that says you can't do that anymore.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, all hail the workstation exporting websites.
Awesome. So looking at the results, unfortunately we only have the nicknames of the players, so I guess that doesn't really help us out too much. We have Fluffy in first place, playing a very traditional build of elves, I want to say. Is there anything jumps out to you? I think elves, especially the more traditional builds, they really build themselves these days. You can somewhat vary the numbers, but not too much. Sometimes you play Archon of Whaler's Reach, sometimes you don't. I like both options depending on what you want to beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing stands out. Grist is pretty much a staple in all the versions, I think. And yeah, this looks like pretty solid great elves to me.
Yeah, something I noticed, it's 13 initial mana sources. And that's something... Actually, there's two reasons I want to talk about that. The first reason was, whenever I started playing Once Upon a Time in elves, I've played it. Sometimes I've played it, sometimes I didn't. Recently, I felt maybe I want to play it more again. It gives you the idea that you probably can cut an initial mana source, and this person is actually running 13 initial mana sources, whereas previously 14 was the norm. And somebody on Twitter, I actually should have prepared this, but I just thought about it. Metalfish, but the I is a 1. Dude, why do people do this to their nicknames? They are so hard to ever reference. They actually ran the numbers in a pretty big Excel file, and they basically came up with the idea that it's not only Julian's intuition, it's actually backed up by numbers. It's literally backed up by numbers that you can run 13 initial mana sources and 3 Once Upon a Times, and your keep percentage, or let's say your money percentage, goes down significantly. And by significantly, I don't mean crazy 10 or 20%, but in statistically significant, right? So it goes down in the sense that you really can tell the difference after a while, and you don't have to play 200 or 300 games. Gotcha.
How many do you play?
If I play them, I usually play 3, 2 or 3.
3 mana sources. That's very ambitious.
Yeah. Once upon a time status. But yeah, 3 mana sources. I guess you could make that work if you get giga lucky.
Well, if you just have a basic forest to start every game with, and then a fetch for the Dryad Arbor, and then a Cradle every time, I'm sure that works.
Dude, and then you lose really hard to the Stone Rain deck or something.
These Stone Rain you then stifle you. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So second place we have, it's called Team War Show and Tell, but to me it really looks like blue-green Show and Tell. And yeah, I guess you got Through the Breach and Release the Arms and Kozilek's Return in the sideboard, but...
Two Abundant Harvest is very interesting. I guess I kind of like the idea of it. It's the sorcery from Modern Horizons where you can choose a land or non-land, and then you reveal cards from the top until you get what you wanted. Because, I mean, this deck is playing a very fair plan as well as far as like blue-green Omni goes. It's got 2 Uros, 4 Ice Fangs in the main deck. That's more than you kind of commonly see. And this deck either like struggles with it floods out or it doesn't have like enough action pieces. So I kind of like the idea of 2 Abundant Harvests. It could be a little bit clunky. Personally, I always favor just playing like some Petals and City of Traitors in these decks. But yeah, if you're going fair and hard, it's another card that, goes in the graveyard for Uro, helps you find things and stuff.
Yeah. The one reason I don't like it this much in that kind of deck is because there's such a huge delta, such a huge difference in your non-land cards. Like, you could hit anything that's like business, something like, even just like additional cantrips or your show and tells that you're looking for, but you could also hit Emrakul or Griselbrand.
It's true, yeah.
And it's such a big difference, right? Like, it literally, it could be a blank. Whereas, on the other hand, if you're looking for Emrakul and Griselbrand, you'd much rather have additional preordains as opposed to like Abundant Harvests. Because if you say non-land, that's really not going to get you that far into the deck to, like, it's...
Yeah. It's also like a complete split of plans. I think having Ice Fangs and Uro is fine in the deck and makes some sense. But yeah, like if you have a hand of the Show and Tell and the Omniscience, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to Show and Tell Omniscience, and then cast Abundant Harvest off it, and then you hit like, I don't know. I guess you have a few, like...
But the thing is, once you're at that stage, I think Abundant Harvest is
that's
actually...
good, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what I meant to say was like, if you have the Show and Tell, you're looking for the Omniscience or a big creature or whatever, or vice versa, and then you cast it, and then you find more of the wrong half or something.
Yeah, I guess if it allowed you to like specify creature, well, okay, I guess that would be too good. Like creature, non-creature, non-land, or non-land. Like that, yeah, might as well just print Demonic Tutor at some point, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think of the? So just because 4 Veil of Summers and 2 Carpet of Flowers and playing Show and Tell Omniscience deck wasn't enough, there's 2 Shifting Ceratops in the sideboard as well. It's just absolutely fuck you, blue.
Yeah, you're just going full, like all in on like blue-green mid-range, right? At that point, I wouldn't be surprised if they even had like more Uros. It's just like after sideboarding, take out the combo, just be blue-green mid-range.
Ceratops is pretty good against like Blue-Red Delver. Doesn't get bolted, can block Murktide, and if they play Delvers anymore, probably not. It'll very often just like, I bet they'll like bolt it and then gut shot it or something, and you're like, okay, fine.
I guess they can't Prismatic Ending it, right? They're not going to get to 4.
If they get a treasure, they could.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah.
Damn you, Ragavan.
yeah, that little monkey. But yeah, otherwise, 2 Preordain is like, I guess they've gone for the Abundant Harvest over 2 Preordains. Now that I see it next to that, I'm less of a fan. I think this deck would play like 8 Preordains if it could after the 8 Ponders and 8 Brainstorms. But
yeah, definitely agree. Third place, super interesting. Well, I called it bug mid-range. I guess you could also like call it bug control. It's, well,
I think mid-range is fair. Yeah,
mid-range is fair, right? It's basically like the way you would imagine it, except for it also plays 3 Witherbloom commands. It plays like a 1-off dress down. Planeswalkers, it has 2 Chase, 1 Narset, and for creatures, 3 Uro, 3 Barefoot Strix, 1 Snapcaster, 2 Endurance, 1 Sudden Edict. Dude, this is like the...
This is... I mean, I have the perfect name. It's just Bug Tradebinder, which is a very well-known archetype. It's just, you put like a bunch of bug lands together, and then you just put in loads of mid-range cards.
I think actually that's how Channel Fireball once built. I like that top-aided GP.
yeah.
Legacy GP.
It's a pretty, like, if someone said to me Bug Tradebinder, I'd be like, okay, I could list off most of the cards in this deck as like something they could probably play.
Maybe this is actually how the deck came together.
Yeah.
It's like, you're gonna play 3 Wasteland. You get this and that. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Fourth place. The deck usually is referred to as, I think, like 8-cast, and I have no idea why it's called 8-cast. And you're the master of everything.
It's got eight thought casts, because it has 4 thought casts and then 4 thought monitor.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we go.
So it's not 8 thought, it's 8-cast. Because that makes so much more. Yeah. Okay.
It's a cool name. Like, I'm not massively into the name, but it's much cooler than like Blue Artifacts or something. I don't know. We got to think of a what's it called? A breakfast themed name for it.
Yeah, but usually they use like American breakfast names, right? Like I didn't understand that like all of these like Golden Grahams and like all of that stuff. I didn't even understand those were breakfast cereals. I just like thought, whatever, Golden Grahams, that sounds like a music award or something. Yay, and the winner of the Golden Grahams this year. Like,
I've just Google searched metal American cereal, and nothing jumps out, but there's Funfetti, there's Dunkaroos, and Canuck Crunch. Dunkaroos, it doesn't really suit this deck. Moving on.
Yeah, send us your suggestions. What's the best American cereal brand that hasn't been used yet for a deck name?
For Artifacts Blue. This is cool. Like, obviously, I think I've already gushed about how much I love Artifact decks enough on this podcast that I bored everyone with it. But this one is slightly different. It has a little bit of red splash. So it has 2 Gira per Aether Grid in the sideboard. Yeah, and then it's splashing red off 4 Silver Bluff Bridge, which is the ETB tapped artifact lands, but they're indestructible. I was actually really impressed with the ones that I played in the Blue-White Bomb Man deck. It feels really good playing them turn 1 against Wasteland decks, or even just in the blind. You do suffer, obviously, from an ETB tap land coming in, like this is Legacy after all, and I think like coming to play tapped has a huge cost in this format, and it's going to be really good. But just being an artifact that you can rely on staying in play is actually a pretty big game when you're playing stuff like Thoughtcasts and Thought Monitors. So I would not kind of. They look pretty bad, but they're actually better. They play better than they look. So it's quite nice, and it's just like a nice way. So actually, whenever we talked about the blue red Ragavan decks and how mana sequencing is very hard with Saga and stuff, you get the same thing in all Saga decks. You're like, do I play the Saga to maximize making the constructs a turn earlier and getting the tutor a turn earlier? But then you're like weighing that up against like, if my other land gets wastelanded, it's pretty bad. But with this one, you feel pretty good playing it turn 1, and then because this deck has like Lotus Petals and Mox Opals, you feel pretty good playing a turn 2 Saga if you have some fast mana, or like turn 3 you feel a bit safer as well. So I'm a fan of them, and so if you're like impressed with those kind of cards, then you can have this splash, which is kind of fairly free off the Mox Opals and Petals as well and stuff. Other different thing that I usually see, like they all moved away from Chalice of the Voids, and then I think I saw Bob Huang just be like, Chalice of the Void is still like, it can just steal wins and it's really good. So he played 2 or 3 in some lists for a bit, and then this one has gone up to 4 again, which I do like. You sometimes have these like really awkward moments where you draw some of your tutor targets for Saga with the Chalice in play, but it's fine. I can definitely see it. Like I played the version without Chalice and I tried it quite a bit. But the thing is, now I'm looking at the list and I'm seeing the 4 Chalice, and I literally can't tell you what they cut for it, which is usually a good sign. Yeah. It's not like something that jumps out at me. It's like, oh, we're really missing this interaction or this card. I can't tell you either. I'm looking at it. Maybe just some like random stuff. I mean, this deck didn't play Urza's from the beginning either, did they?
Oh, this one does, right?
No. There's no
you mean like the big Ursa, the 4 mana Ursa?
Yeah, not Saga, sorry.
Yeah, but the previous version by the guy who, I think the Japanese player who won, was it a challenge with it? He also didn't play like the big Ursa, like Mr. Ursa.
Yeah.
But also no chalices, and said there's just like no room for the chalices. But right now, if I could fire up Magic Online, I could check, but apparently it's like still in downtime or something.
No, most don't play Urza. I'm just like kind of working out what could have been cut from other lists, but yeah, I'm not sure either, so I'm sure it's fine.
So what are we doing with the other grid?
It must be against like the Oof, Collector Oof, and kind of maybe Nullroad things as well. But like 1 damage is pretty effective these days. Just sniping down Ragavans, and even for 3 Dragon Rage challengers, like Sai makes an ungodly amount of now I've worked out what they cut. They cut the 2 Echo Vions and 2 LEDs, which is great.
Yeah, that's the entire thing.
those cards were really bad in the deck. Like they're good against unfair decks because it gives you just more broken draws and ways to refill after forcing stuff. But the LED doesn't have enough other things to do in the deck, so you just kind of like sack it to a Sai or whatever, and then the Echo Vions are like kind of only really good with the LEDs. They were just very awkward, so I like seeing them cut.
Actually, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I remember I started out LED a lot, and I usually like the interaction a lot more in decks that like are a little bit higher on the mana curve, so you can sometimes even cast your Echo of Eons. And this deck, it's still possible, but maybe it's a little bit harder. Like when I played this deck, I remember it being like really low to the ground. Like usually you only spend like 1 or 2 mana every turn.
Exactly. I played this at my LGS a week and a half ago, and I had the 2 LED, 2 Echo, and I sided them out each game, and they felt really bad. It's just like, I actually had a couple of hull breaches in there to kind of make them a bit better, and I got to do the thing once, but it was still like I didn't need to. I had 2 forces in hand and a Emery going and stuff. It was okay. But yeah, cool to see this deck continuing to do well.
So in 5th to 8th place, I guess, we have, I initially wanted to call it like Blue-Red Delver, but these days we're not even playing the 2 of Delver. Delver has been entirely cut from the deck, and now we're playing 2 True Name Nemesis. And also interesting, is this the deck now? They only play 2 Unholy Heat. Like I've seen deck lists that even go up to the full 4 Unholy Heat. I think we're going to see that in the challenge deck lists. So what are we doing here with the True Name Nemesis? Is that just like a hedge for the mirror where Delver is traditionally not that great?
Yeah, like maybe it helps a bit against D&T as well.
That's a really big. Oh, dude, I'm sorry to have you in the cast. I would be like, oh yeah, is it really good in the mirror where it can't block Murktide region?
No,
oh yeah, it must be.
It's not great in the mirror because yeah, Murktide and Dragon's Rage Channel just fly over it. I think it helps there. Not massively into it personally, but if the player made top 8 in a 100-person event, they must have a plan for it, and it obviously paid off as well. So I think that helps. It is also still a card that kind of randomly wins against random bullshit. You just sometimes true name them and they can't deal with it, and like against control it got a lot worse because of Uro, but I guess you're just like flying over Uro anyway is your plan. So yeah, these decks are like they're becoming like there's slight differences here and there, but they all have the same kind of theme. You've got Ragavans and your Dragon Rage Channelers and your 4 Murktides and stuff, and then you have the cantrips and the bolts and 2 Unholy Heats, as you said. They're all beginning to look pretty similar to me, honestly, with a couple of different cards here and there. Actually, 4 Pyroclasm in the sideboard is something.
What? Okay, maybe I have no idea. This looks really like I want to beat Death in Texas. And I mean, it makes sense, right? The tournament was played in the south of Sweden, and everybody knows that that's pretty close to Denmark, and everybody in Denmark loves Death in Texas. Denmark loves Death in Texas, so...
True. And they could have known Fluffy was coming with his elves as well.
Oh, no, dude, oh my god. If I'm playing against this deck with elves, and afterwards they show me I had 4 Pyroclasms, like, I'm like, oh, holy shit, dude.
I think you're right, though. Like, the 2 True Names and the 4 Pyroclasms, and then there's like a Staticaster, a Braid, 2 Meltdowns, a Gut Shot. Like, there's a lot of cards that are good against D&T. I think you dedicate all those number of cards and, yeah, make D&T a decent matchup, or at least even.
Yeah, you can even bring in Caracas to bounce Thalia.
Yeah, actually, whenever I've had like random lands on my sideboard with anything, I always bring them against D&T because it just helps cast spells. So
yeah, it definitely makes sense. Looking at another 5th to 8th place deck list. This is it's Tin Fins.
Yes, but baby.
It's like the main deck is straight up Tin Fins, right?
It's just old school Tin Fins. It even has 1 Cabal Therapy as like a salute to a dying card. It's like, we recognize how awesome you are. Yeah, this is like 2 Griselbrand, 1 Children of Corliss, 1 Emrakul, the classic package. Then you got your cantrips, a couple of Thought Seizers, Brainstorm, Dark Ritual, Entomb. Oh, it's got Force of Wills, and 3 days. That's not super normal.
Yeah, and you know why?
No.
Have you looked at the side part?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I was going to get to that in a second. It's still like 8, 12, 16, 19 blue cards, I guess. The thing that like Force of Will and combo decks is Doomsday makes it work, but because it's just like a kind of a 1-card combo, so it's okay. But combo decks very often need a combination of cards, that's their name, and so pitching a cantrip is always so bad. So here you're just like only wanting to pitch Force of Will or Daze or a Limdom's Vault, actually. Weirdly, I guess it works. Whenever I tried forces in Tin Fins, it never really worked. I even like added Jace Vryn's Prodigy to turn up the blue count with good cards. But yeah, I mean they've made it work. It's cool. Otherwise, I'm just psyched to see Tin Fins. I absolutely adore this deck. And then, do you want to tell the sideboard plan?
Yeah, dude, I was like really stupid. I kept looking at the deck list and I was like, why is there one of Cavern of Souls in the sideboard? So I kept looking at the main deck again. Like, do you like hardcast Griselbrand sometimes? Or like, is it for children? That doesn't make sense. I literally have no idea. And then like after a minute or two, I look back at the sideboard and I'm like, oh, and there's for Doomsday. Okay, Master's Oracle. Yeah, all of a sudden makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I love this Duke. There was like there's been some other lists like Doom Fins or whatever they called it. I mean, I'm making that up.
Fins.
Like Doomday, whatever.
Doom Fins.
Oh, that's way cool. I need to get one of those. Just But even if people know about this Duke and they see it coming, it's still very hard to sideboard for, because if you get it wrong, you just have all the wrong cards. Like, Surgical can do a little bit against Doomsday. It's not too bad, but generally it's pretty bad. And a lot of the cards that are good against Doomsday just are not good against Tin Fins. You'll have your like middle of the road stuff like Aethersworn Canonists and things that are okay against. It's very good against the game one plan, but Doomsday can definitely beat it and stuff. It's actually pretty easy. So yeah, big fan of the sideboard Duke. It just works. Doomsday is such a good package that you can fit it in there, and it is just like really good against a lot of decks, especially Control.
I wonder if we're ever gonna see like a blue-black control deck that's gonna side. Like, I mean, Doomsday already is. Well, I don't want to call it a blue-black control deck, right? Because it doesn't like play creature removal or anything like that. But like you mentioned, it's such an easy thing to change into, and it requires such a minimum number of cards. I guess it always comes down to if you're playing like a regular deck and then you sideboard into Doomsday, you're not gaining that much. Whereas if you're playing like a combo deck that makes your opponent sideboard in a very specific way, and then you completely circumvent that way they sideboarded, that's going to make it really awkward for them in the second game, where you're going to be quite advantaged, and then the third game is a guessing game for them.
Mm-hmm. I have had a blue-black standstill deck years ago with like the Tin Fins package in the sideboard. That was... It's the same idea, but just worse, I guess. But you just need like 1 Grizzle Brown, 1 Emrakul, and then 4 Entombs, and then Shallow Graves, and some Glory of Vengeances.
Cool.
You didn't have the Dark Rituals, but you keep like standstills in, and you just play draw go until you have a bunch of discard and beat someone. It's pretty fun.
And then like you crack your own standstill with just like 5 discard spells, and then you cast Doomsday and win.
Yeah. All right, Marcus, don't listen to this. Marcus is like, oh my god, I could play standstill day or whatever you want to silly thing.
I couldn't really imagine Marcus playing discard spells. Like, I already don't like discard, and I can't imagine it. Like, discard, it can be a dead card, right? That's not something that Marcus wants to play.
He's played the Peer into the Abyss decks. He'll bring himself to that if he has to.
Yeah, but he's only playing those because he can lose life, and he likes losing life.
It's true. Actually, I don't think he even plays discard. I think he just plays like 4 force, full pact.
Yeah, that's
fine.
What I would imagine.
All right, standstill deck with Pact of Negations.
Then moving on, in the top 8, we have another 8-cast deck, and this time also with the Gear of War Ethergrid. Is that something you see quite a lot, or is that maybe something like some tech coming out of Sweden?
Yeah, I think it's from Sweden. I haven't seen it before.
Yes, it's the first time for me as well.
They must know each other, I'm going to guess, or maybe there's just a list that's come out recently that we haven't seen. It's totally possible.
Oh, really? Something escaping our eye?
Oh, I know. The great.
We must subscribe to other podcasts to get the technology. Or maybe it's really from Sweden. Maybe that. Yeah.
let's just give it to that. Yeah, I think these two are onto something. It's a cool idea. I like it.
Awesome. Then rounding out the top 8, we have Ruby Storm, and that's playing like usually that's the deck where I have to look up a lot of cards. Like the first card I saw was like Pirates Pillage. I was like, wait,
you don't know what Pirates
like
Pillage does? You've not played enough Limited in the last few years.
Definitely.
Yeah, Pirates Pillage is a cool card with like a monkey on the front, I think.
Yeah, it's a sorcery, 3 colorless and a red. As an additional cost to cast Pirates Pillage, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create 2 colorless treasure artifact tokens while you can sacrifice them for a mana of any color. So it's basically like a looting effect, right? You discard this, and then you draw 2, so you're breaking even on cards, but then you get back like 2 of the mana. Yeah, this is basically the red version of a card for blue that would just like straight up cost 2 less mana, right?
Yeah. Does this not scream like Legacy playable to you?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay, fine. But this is cool. It's got a lot of like 2s and 1s and 3s, so I think giving them enough credit, like they've probably played it a bunch. It's the kind of deck where I would just like jam 4 Simian Spirit Guide in there to begin with, and Galvanic Relay seemed like a really nice card for this deck, and there's just 1. So I think they know what they're doing, and they're onto something here. This deck is about to get a really nice upgrade in the new set as well. It's like a red, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You can cast them until the end of your next turn, I believe. So it's incredibly powerful with a Ruby Medallion in play. It's basically like 1 mana, draw 2 for this kind of deck. So
is that going to play anywhere except for Ruby Medallion Storm?
No, but you could say the same against Pirates Pillage or Jessica's Will. And
no, I'm just asking because we were actually talking about that on the Cantrip Cartel podcast. I was a guest on yesterday, and I was very much of the opinion that this card is basically unplayable, except for I guess Ruby Storm. just because whenever you play red in a fair deck in Legacy, you also want to play blue. There's basically only goblins where you have the tribal synergies, where you, or I guess burn, but you play burn for other reasons, where you wouldn't play blue in your red deck. And at that point, you probably want to play impressive iteration. No, I keep expressive iteration. That's the one.
Excessively impressive.
Excessive iteration, like that actually exiles like 3 cards and you get to keep all of them.
Oh my god, yeah. But I'll agree with you. I don't think the card is going to do much outside of this deck.
Cool.
But I think it'd be amazing in this deck. So
yeah, the thing is, like, this deck probably has like too many cards it actually wants to play. You know, there's like stuff like Galvanic Relay is like pretty, like all of these cards, they look like they were literally printed for Ruby Storm. And maybe they need like some kind of Yorion-esque commander that makes you play more cards so you can like fit all of them into the deck.
Jester's Will is also quite a new one, which is amazing in the deck. I actually think this deck's a bit of a sleeper. It's pretty powerful. It can do some really crazy things, and it can grind really well. You have like it's got 4 Burning Wish, 40 Burning Wish, and then you also have 1 main deck Pass and Flames and a second on the sideboard. It grinds very well against control. So I think this deck is actually better than people kind of like let on about it. So it's cool to see.
Is this deck actually playing Faithless Looting? No, it's not, right? That's you don't really get anything
Why
out
would you
of
play
it.
Looting when you can play Pirate's Pillage?
Yeah, true.
Julian, come on.
Yeah, you got this figured out. Wait, they're only playing 12 lands? Okay, dude.
No, there's 3 Shadow Skull Smashing as well.
Dude, one of them is going to trap rate one of the Eternal Weekend events, I'm calling it.
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't miss. All right, I'm going to play this. Actually, I can't play it, but...
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So, moving on, there was a challenge this Sunday, and it gathered 177 players. And drumroll, can you guess who got first place? One of the hottest players in Legacy right now. Spoiler, it's not me.
Oh shit! I'm still on the on the wrong page. I'm still looking at
no, but wait, it wasn't a challenge. It was a showcase challenge.
It was
right?
a showcase challenge. It had 177 players. That's massive, actually.
Well, that's why so many people played in it. Usually, a challenge just get like 64 to 100 or something.
Yep. Drumroll. It was X-Ray Cloud, classic D&T master. Surprised, but not surprised at all. See him take it down. He's just incredible with the deck. Very proficient. He wrote a huge article just before it. I haven't read it yet. I've kind of like browsed it and skimmed it, and I was looking at a few matchups, especially at the bottom, and it just went on and on and on and on and on in in the best way possible. He's written so much, and he's just put his skills to the fore. And
the articles on minmaxblog.com, right?
It is, yes. Good point. I forgot about that. Yes, it's free, so you can post in the show notes. He's been, him and Lewinil, Jason Murray, they've been championing especially the Yorion build, and then not too long ago they added Urza Saga, which I think a lot of people were kind of like murmuring and mentioning, and it just made like too much sense. And then it's just a bit of a staple now. And the newest other little thing is One Timeless Dragon, which I was like, I think we mentioned it in the podcast, and I was like, oh, it seems cool, they're trying it out. And then there's this chap called Rory who came to our last London Monthly, and I asked him about it, and he told me in all the ways that it could be good. And I was like, wow, that actually seems fantastic. Like, it's just because you just plain cycle it, and it's a deck that always wants more white mana, and then you just eternalize it for 4 mana. Doesn't get bolted, can't be pyroblasted, blocks Delver and Dragon Rage Channeler, especially Dragon Rage Channeler when they have to attack into it, and they can't daze or counter or whatever. Just seems like a really nice card. I was impressed by the way he told me all that it can do.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm a really big fan of that. I remember we talked like a couple of months ago. We talked about a landstill deck that actually like used Timeless Dragons to like go under the landstill, because you're not casting the dragons, so as such they also can't be countered. You're, I think it's like an activated ability, and you put them onto the battlefield that way, and that's kind of cool. What I really like is it's 4/4. It gets past endurance. So even if you're playing like a control deck, like a random, I don't know, 4 color control deck, and you get the Timeless Dragon down, you're going to have a 4/4, and you don't care about the endurance. And I mean, in the second game, it's probably not going to be there in the first place. But overall, it's just like everything about it feels right. And I'm a really big fan of the one of Timeless Dragon. Like, I couldn't even see a second copy. I don't know how it plays out. But like you mentioned, Death and Texas is really mana hungry. Like, it's one of the more mana hungry decks in the format. And just like ensuring you get your land drop, that's already something.
Yeah, big fan of it. So I don't see any other Death and Taxes in the screenshot we have here of the top 18, I guess. There probably were some other people playing it, but it's always a deck which, it is so good against these blue decks, but the rest of it is a lot of blue. So you can see why XJ has kind of come to the top. The blue decks are still so powerful in Legacy, where you just have to play incredibly proficiently, even with a good matchup in your hands. And so I think...
Yeah, actually, there aren't too many people playing Death in Texas. Actually, we have the numbers here by the crew from Joseph Dyer, and there's... Wait, that can't be right. Oh, that's Death Shadow. There were 5 people, only 5 people playing Death in Texas out of the 177.
Wow. Okay. That'll be why there's less. I mean, this is why you can't like look at a top 18 here and see all the blue pips and then be like, oh, okay, it's like dominated, no D&T apart from one at the very top. It's just very few people playing, which is actually shocking because the deck has been doing very well recently and it's
so incredibly cheap. It's so incredible, like, compared to anything else. Like, I think it's like 1,000. Well, quote unquote cheap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but both in paper and on Magic Online. Actually, on Magic Online, I might be mixing it up. Like, I know in paper it's like around 1,000 because I looked it up yesterday. On Magic Online,
actually, it's really expensive because it's 4 Solitudes and 4 as a Saga.
The Solitudes are really expensive as well, right?
Yeah.
Let me switch it to MTGO. Well, actually, here it says 444 tickets, which is like half of Is It Delver.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, never mind. This is the XJ Cloud list, and this one is 685, which is still like, it's expensive for Magic.
Well, that's going to get people on their Mana Traders or card holder accounts still. They'll be fine. But, the rest of so I was going to say we can go through everything. What is incredible is there's so many good players at the top. I actually recognize every single one apart from the Deer Painter player in 5th. I just have to shout out Federico El Madao. Sorry if I butchered that. Awesome to see Painter so high. I still think it's a deck which has all these blasts are so good against what people are doing. I think it is actually pretty legit good right now. So that's awesome to see it there. But every other player on this list is I know that they're incredibly good. So all the placings here is very impressive.
You know what Federico is doing, by the way, in Painter? I heard the gospel, and they're only playing 4 blasts, but you gotta make room for the format All-Star 4 Chromatic Star. I hear you really like the card.
Oh, I love Chromatic. Okay, let me just pull it up. I do love a Chromatic Star. 4 Chromatic Star. The card is just good. So they have 4 blasts. Okay, this is going in a cool direction because there's no Khans, which it's like the opposite of what Marius was doing, which we talked about in the last podcast.
Yeah.
I think both are good ways. So they have the 4 Painter Servants in the main deck, and then it's you can find it easier. And then with 4 Chromatic Stars, and then Nico Wellspring as well. They're just they're making the Welders even better and the Engineers. Like, it's just you're just getting more value there. So I guess they're just becoming like an even lower to the ground. They have 21 lands, which is fairly common. They got Trinisphere and Staring Bridge main deck as the kind of engineered targets. Yeah, everything else looks kind of cool. I've been thinking about how to cut Khans in like a Saga list because very often you have to choose between trying to cast a Khan or making a second construct and things. There's a little bit of friction there. So I'd like their approach. Yeah, so it looks like they went 7-0 in the Swiss, and then is that right?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
and like you mentioned, the Goblin Welder is turning into the absolute value engine with the Chromatic Stars and the Eco Springs. Like, once you start switching those every time you draw like 2 cards or something, it's absolutely insane.
The opponent would usually concede because it's incredibly hard to keep up. But they're just like, that's so cool. You're having so much fun. You can carry on.
Just keep going, dude. I want to see more of it. I want to see you draw your entire deck. So yeah, Painter, definitely a deck. Like, it's probably not the kind of deck you would give somebody and be like, hey, play this in the Eternal Weekend, unless you want to put in some work. But I think it's one of the more rewarding decks in Legacy.
Yeah, I still think I probably if I was going to play in the Showcase Challenge, and even for Eternal Weekend, I think I am actually away on the weekend, so I can't play it. But I think I would play Painter in at least one of them, probably 2. I don't think myself as a top tier Painter player by any means, but I still think
there's only so many.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking of there's a lot of people in the Discord which are just amazing. So,
okay.
Thinking Jack Kitchen especially. I think you do need to have the reps. It can be really punishing if you sequence things wrong, especially not just like the non-basic lands, but just when to leave up mana, when to play around this and that and stuff.
Oh, by the way, what's really weird to me? Like, there's 3 Urz's Bobble. Like, what are we doing with the Bobble in this deck? I mean,
so they're playing 3 Mox Opal, which is pretty uncommon. This will be why they have the stars and the baubles. So they're going heavier on fast mana. I think they're just trying to. They actually play a lot more fast mana than usual. So they've got there's two Lotus Petals. Sorry. So there's usually 4 Lotus Petals, but they've gone 2 Petal, 3 Mox Opal, and then they're using the stars and the baubles to turn the opals on early. Mox Opal is generally not really played in Painter because you just don't get that many artifacts in play early. But this one, they must do enough. And it's again.
So I guess the idea here is that you can go for the combo somewhat quicker, and if it fails, you can recover by trying to like generate insane value with Welder.
Yeah, or just make bigger Saga tokens as well. There's a bunch of ways that these artifacts kind of help different ways of the deck playing. I think generally, I've always found that Painter is a deck which trades resources. Like you trade a Welder for a Bolt, then you trade a Blast for a Cantrip or an action spell, and then you do get to top decking. This is why I always kind of like the Imperial Recruiters, which there are none here actually. I always like them because it's just like kind of a good card.
So you can recruiter for recruiter.
Hell yes. But also just, I recruiter for a Welder or Engineer very, very often as well. And it's just a body to throw on the ground as well and just do stuff. Whereas here, yeah, I find the Bauble, the slow trip is kind of risky in Painter. Not massive into that interaction in the deck, but I can see what they're going with the Mox Opal. I do like it. It also lets you kind of play turn 1 Urza Saga and threaten, turn 2 make a thing, and then like sometimes turn 4 combo, turn 3 combo. You just need the Painter with it. So that's cool.
Cool. So, and speaking of familiar faces, and especially the top 8, we have Javier Dominguez, also known as Talai on Magic Online, playing Blue-Red Delver. And for those of you who don't know Javier, shame on you. No, Javier actually won the Legacy GP in Paris in 2014. He also made it to the finals of the most recent Legacy Premier League. And I mean, those are just some of his minor accomplishments. Like he's I guess he's a world champion. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, he also won the world championship.
He is the world champion after coming second the year before as well, which is
that's actually so exciting.
It's so nuts.
I'm loving that part of the story.
I've watched that GP Paris finals so many times. He was on Bug Delver with like Dark Confidence, and he beat Miracles. I think actually like Sylvan Library and him and Turex beat Miracles, which is good times.
Yeah, if you say so.
Oh dear. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There were people who didn't play Top Miracles anyway.
Yeah. Well, Dark Confident was amazing. What's not to love?
Maybe it's gonna come back one day. No, who knows?
No.
It's not even good enough for Vintage anymore.
No.
Vintage is just like too fast paced. It's like so you're telling me you have to wait a turn for the card?
Yeah, like what?
Scratch his head.
What? I'm just gonna play this as a saga.
Yeah. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because Javier, even though he made second place, he tweeted about that Blue-Red Delver is a lot of fun to play, but he actually thinks that Urza Saga is likely better than the deck. Like doing anything with Urza Saga is likely better than playing Blue-Red Delver. And that kind of somewhat feeds into my experience. Like I really like Cheskai Ragavan. Like this I like playing Blue-Red Delver. I like playing a tempo game, but I always felt like the Cheskai Ragavan deck, it's a little bit more mid-rangey, and it still has like decent game against Blue-Red Delver, but also like reaping all the rewards from being mid-range deck. Of course, the trade-off is you have a much worse first game against most combo decks. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting to see that how you mentioned that, because then in third place we actually have everybody's favorite Jedi streamer Arkan, also known as Legacy_Council on Twitch. And Arkan later tweeted that he wasn't too happy about Urza Saga, and that's why he actually dropped it from the Cheskai Ragavan decks, and he went back to playing like Stifles and apparently also to Consider. I'm not too happy about Consider. Like, I guess I get the idea that it like feeds your Murktide region and it has interactions with Dragon Rage Channeler, but overall the Stifles somewhat look out of place to me, just because like a big part of the Stifles was protecting your own sagas, and I guess you can still stifle the opponent's sagas, but I'd much rather also have my own sagas as well. I mean, it makes the mana dodgier, I guess, but
I kind of we're doing the usual kind of trick of Stifle, right? And I've actually noticed Arkan does it a lot. For premier events, before he tells people the deck he's playing, he either plays Dredge, which is just he can't do now because Endurance is out there, or he moves to Stifle when everyone else is off Stifle. Like the best Stifle is the one you don't expect, etc. And I saw a couple of people get caught out by the stifles. So I do think, if it's completely off people's radar, which it kind of was, like I know stifles started off in the Jeskai decks to protect your Saga, but it was dropped quite quickly. So I think
it's funny you mentioned that, because I think I've seen it in a couple of Legacy chats where it was like making waves during the Showcase Challenge, where people were like, watch out, Arkan's playing Stifle, and like people spread the word.
Really?
And, yeah.
I wasn't looking at that. Yeah. Well, there we go. That's I think it paid off for him here. I think I didn't watch any of his games, but I can imagine a bunch of them were off the back of Stifle, I think, actually. So it's kind of, I like it. Very very quickly, I'm sure him and people playing this deck won't play it much more, but it's just like a one event kind of, load up your gun, shoot your bullet, and see where it takes you.
Yeah, and then, well, I can't call it the elephant in the room, because it's certainly not the elephant in the room, is that out of the top 18, there's 10 is it Delver decks. And I mean, that's too many, right? That's just... Yeah,
it's a lot. I will make a very important clarification. I think actually a majority of them here, basically this is kind of like a quote-unquote Zoomers creation. And so I think all of the younger players here, like there'll be MZ Blazer, Leviathan 102. Igad is Edgar, but I think he was on it as well. He's not he's a bit of a boomer, but he's in the crew. Bullwinkle is one of the guys that like basically popularized this, in my opinion. RNG specialist as well, I think, was probably on it. They're playing like blue-red control, like Saga control, but looks like Delver. Let me just pull up a list.
Yeah. Actually, because I put it in the show notes, right? They're only playing 4 Ragavands from Murktides, but neither Delver nor Dragon Rage Channeler. But at least in the MZ Blazer list, they were like 4 Unholy Heat. Like,
yes.
Holy Unholy Heat Batman. What is this?
If you go through the other ones, I think you'll see more of these. So yeah, Edgar was playing the same thing, just 4 Ragavan, 4 Murktides. And then they have 2 Retrofitted Foundry as well. So it looks like Delver, and then it actually just plays like a very, very grindy mid-range control deck. Yeah, so Leviathan 102 is on it as well. I'm just scrolling through. JPA was on just 2 Delver Secrets thing. Bullwinkle as well on it as well. And RNG Specialist, so yeah, the guess is right. So this is like an evolution of the deck, and Bullwinkle was the first one I saw like posted on Twitter. He was winning challenges with like 3 dazes, because then people asked him, he was like, I thought it'd be funny because everyone's saying but ban it. So there is 3 dazes in some of these decks as well. I love it. But they also have a main deck Pyroblast. This is like an MTGO Cabal. I think they all talk together, and you'll see a lot of similarities across the lists. But these decks are good. They look incredibly impressive to me, where it's just like they've even cut the Dragon Rage Channeler, which always feels amazing. But sometimes that's the card that feels the weakest as well, whereas Ragavan and Murktide are so pushed.
So I guess the idea is that you, like you mentioned, you look like Blue-Red Delver, and then you think you can easily grind them out by just like, basically you see them not having like a fast start, or maybe they have Ragavan, you have the removal spell, and then they don't immediately follow it up with something, and you're like, oh, okay, so I'm in a decent position. But what you don't know is that they're actually like, I don't want to go as far as calling them in a control deck, but at least they're much more control-ish than you would expect Blue-Red Delver to be. And then you're like, strategically, you make the wrong decisions, and you take your time when you shouldn't, and you get in this really awkward spots where you feel like, dude, I'm just getting grinded out, and then eventually you handle the first Retrofitter Foundry, and then they have a second one. It's like, why do you even have with the Saga in the first place?
Look at the mana base. So take out the Sagas for a second. 22 lands, 2 Wastelands, 1 Mystic Sanctuary. That's not a Delver deck.
Whoa, Mystic Sanctuary?
Yeah, this is not a Delver deck. That. It's a blue-red, play the busted new cards control deck. Yeah.
Oh, I could get, dude, this is like the best of both worlds almost. Like it doesn't play like Swords to Plowshares, which is like such a big deal in Legacy still, but
that's why you see the 4 Unholy Heats. And so you do miss the
it all fits together. Dude, these Zoomers, they really know what they're doing.
The Zoomers are absolutely cracked, as they say. They're so good. Yeah. So yeah, I think a majority of the top 8 or top 16 or whatever is this build. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Because the Delver decks have 2 Delver Secrets. That's like Javier, Binu, JPA, and maybe one other. But yeah.
So, but what are we actually trying to kill with Unholy Heat?
Just more creatures. I mean, it kills a lot of things, right? Just like, I mean, I don't know what to say to that.
They're gonna print that in newspaper tomorrow.
It
We
did 6
asked
damage.
legacy expert Callum Smith. Like, what does it actually? Oh, it kills a lot of things. Stop.
It kills a timeless dragon. There we go. And it kills a stupid endurance or a Yorion.
Yeah, I guess that's yeah. Oh yeah, endurance is the big one, right?
Yeah, endurance is the very big one. That was that card is absolutely why Unholy Heat started to see play, and Unholy Heat's just stayed good. So you do need to be able to kill endurance as like a kind of a 1-for-1.
Okay. And I guess there's like random case scenarios where you maybe get to hit a Murktide, probably not, but you know.
Yeah, I think the Murktide is just so insane in the mirror that you just kind of trade a Heat and a Lightning Bolt for it and move.
So how
on
many
with your
blasts
life.
do you actually have post board? Like you got one in the main, and then they got
5.
Oh, they got Hydro Blast in sideboard as well.
Yeah.
Dude, this is super inbred and geared towards beating what's going on right now. So
Yeah.
I would actually very much look into playing this. Like,
Two wastelands in the sideboard as well. They just know what they're doing. They're just gearing to beat the mirrors while also building the deck to just have like all the strongest cards in the sideboard to beat the other things.
Oh yeah, so definitely check this list out. If you're looking for something to play that's maybe geared towards beating the current metagame Magic Online, I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving this.
This is my vote for the best deck for Eternal Weekend. There we go.
Ooh, sweet. I still gotta make up my mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So moving on, and speaking of Blue-Red Delver or Blue-Red, does this deck even have a name?
I'm just gonna call it like Blue-Red mid-range for now. We need to think of more cereals.
Okay. So, in speaking of the dominance of that deck, Anorak actually recently hosted an event where he banned Ragavan, and I think it drew 33 players. I signed up, but then I forgot to play in it. It's kind of cool, right? Like, I watched it, and people were super excited about it. I think the finalist was actually Jason Murray on Death in Texas beating Alex Mansell on, well, still Blue-Red Delver, even though there was no Ragavan. But I think he put Young Pyromancer on the deck list.
Yeah, and so, like, reading reports of what happened afterwards, apparently Young Pyromancer was really good, and it's a really, really good card. It's just one of these things where, like, things get power crept out because the new threats are so good, as we've heard a million times. But the threats that are waiting in the wings are still really good. So yeah, not surprised to see Young Pyromancer do some heavy lifting.
Yeah, Young Pyromancer is just like a really cool card when you consider like expressive iteration. Like it plays really well into that, right?
It does.
You can play Young Pyromancer on a second turn, and then the third turn naturally is the one where you want to play excessive iteration, and then you're probably going to get 2 tokens out of that as well.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Looking at the list now, so the threat suite is like the most interesting thing in Delver. So there's 4 Delvers, 4 Dragon Rage Channeler, 2 Young Pyromancer, and 4 Murktide. If we did see Ragavan banned in Legacy, this looks like where people would go straight away, and it looks very, very solid to me. And it's also like just like a nice step back in power level as well. It's cool that Young Pyromancer is good. It's a different card. It's the classic Grixis Delver deck of the Death Threat days, where you have like Murktide as a tool threat that flies over, Young Pyromancer goes wide, then you have Delver and Dragon Rage as like the 1-drop aggression. It reminds me a lot of that.
I was gonna almost call it like a breath of fresh air, even though it still plays like 12 of the very recently printed cards that made Blue-Red Delver really good.
I wouldn't go that far. Like, I'm looking at 4 Delver Secrets, and I'm like, oh, that's novel.
Oh, they're trying something, right?
Yeah.
Something must be going on.
I do want to say it is really cool to see this event. We were talking a little bit just before we started recording about how it's hard. You can't really draw conclusions because like lack of data size. But this is something that Anurag, when they were streaming the event, like brought up loads of times. He's like, I'm not trying to get a conclusive answer at the end of it. Like, if Delver wins, it doesn't just mean that, it's the shell that's broken, not Ragavan. If Delver does badly, it's not to say that banning Ragavan, like, hurts the deck so much. It's just like, at some point, you can only go in so many circles with conjecture and theory and talking until you just need to just start playing some games and see where it goes. So I think this is his way of like, look, we're going to throw some games, see what comes out of it. You said everyone was like just having a massively positive time watching the stream, on the stream, playing the event, and he's just like, yeah, we'll do some more as well and keep playing it. So I think it's really cool to see it from that, like, framed that way, rather than, I think it's very easy to see this kind of thing. And I've seen some comments, not from Anurag or that team at all, but from other people just like, yeah, well, you can't really get conclusions from this. But yeah, as I said, that wasn't their aim, I think. Yeah,
and it's also, I think it's really good that Anurag pointed that out during the stream, because otherwise people would just be like, like assume that's the point of it. And I think most of the stuff that like really gathers people for streams and that people enjoy is just like a good vibe, and that's something that was very much associated with that tournament. Like I tuned in quite a lot, and I really regretted that I couldn't play in it, or I guess I could have played, but I forgot. And I think that's a very, very big reason, or something that Legacy really needs right now, because, I mean, we've talked about how the Legacy Challenge on Saturday hasn't fired in like 2 months by now. And I think there's like 3 reasons towards that. And like the first reason is, yeah, Ragavan is really good. And it's, I mean, whenever something is better than everything else, people don't really enjoy it all that much. The second reason that people don't talk about as much, I think, is that decks got more expensive. Like I've seen a lot of people talk about how they had to increase their renting limit on renting services in Magic Online. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you have noticed? Because I guess I'm spoiled. I have that card holder sponsorship that like I can borrow anything anytime. But I've seen it quite a lot that people talk about that they had to increase their renting limit.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Especially some of the modern decks right now are just mental.
Modern used to be like the little sister of Legacy, I guess.
Yeah.
But if
Legacy still rules because of the dual lands, but you know, there's Modern Horizons cards everywhere, and they were crazy expensive for a bit. I guess they're coming down because the drafts are back up, but yeah. I'm just going through the lists online. There's a really funny one. It says Abzan aristocrats next to blue-white symbols, nice. Which is actually Mystic Forge like combo decks was basically brown as well.
Maybe I should look a little bit more into Modern. Like Modern has some interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's actually cool.
But before I finish this thought, and the third thing that's going on in Legacy that at least I get the feeling of is that there's a really, really bad vibe about anything going on in Legacy that's really discouraging. And like I even can't completely exclude myself from that. Like whenever we talk about decks and stuff, I'm super excited to play them. But then you go like on social media, you go to Legacy chats, and a lot of times, I mean, for a reason, it's not coming out of thin air. People are very down on the format, and that draws you down as well. You know, it creates this perfect storm of negativity that doesn't really want to make people play. And like we talked about, people also like on Saturdays like to play in paper instead, and all of that just like feeds into, for example, the Saturday challenge not firing. And then when Anorak streamed that Ragabanned tournament, I just like. Mm-hmm. That's where my idea of like a breath of fresh air was coming from. It's not necessarily because of like how Blue-Red Delver is constructed. It's just like it felt good again. It felt like people were excited to watch, and everything was crazy. And like people were like, "Oh, see, Delver is still doing well," and "Oh, Death and Tax is hard." Just like it felt good, and it took away some of the negativity that I feel that is very much associated with the metagame right now.
Yeah, I massively felt that, and I felt like I was kind of doing day-to-day things and keeping up with things and reading Twitter and chats and stuff, and then it's just a constant like not like anyone individually having a go or whatever, but I actually just in the last few weeks I've muted almost all the chats, and I've banned a bunch of words or muted a bunch of words on Twitter, and it's been a nice improvement for a little break for a bit. I think I've muted Days, Ragavan, and Ban, and now I don't see any posts with those words in. So
but if you ban the word ban, then you also won't get the announcement of the eventual Survivor of the Fittest unban. That's like probably coming this year, right?
So yeah, I'll just never find out about it. I'll be playing Legacy and it'll be unbanned. I have no idea about it.
You're gonna go to the next tournament. People are gonna be like, okay, Black Lotus, Survivor of the Fittest, discard Squee, find Jeweled Bird or something.
Well, you see, Julian, I thought of this. I'm one step ahead. I didn't silence unban. There we go.
Well, does it work that way? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a different word. I think so. I hope so. Cool. So I'm waiting for the Senses Divining Top and Astrolabe unbans to come on Monday.
Oh God, dude. maybe yeah. I don't want to say it, but I could see myself playing that, I guess. But let's see. I mean, Top Miracles is one of my most played decks in paper ever. But yeah, we talked about that.
We have.
Yeah,
I might play that. So actually, this is another detour I took about like our London monthlies. I'm doing like a big thing in December where we're gonna unban a bunch of cards. We can talk about that like maybe next episode.
Oh, that sounds great, right? Yeah, it's gonna be like in the second week, I think, of December or something.
Yeah, second week of December. Gonna do our usual Legacy as normal on Tuesday. Friday, having a bunch of people coming down from the north. We're gonna just like go to Pub and Cube, and then Saturday we're gonna do a tournament where the first 2 rounds are gonna be maybe Legacy Unchained with a whole curated ban list with like tons of fun cards on ban, like Senses Divining Top and Deathrite Shaman.
Wait. You said fun cards.
Exactly. I knew I'd bait you with that. But we're leaving stupid shit like Oko and Ren and 6 banned. And then the next 3 rounds are going to be like probably pre-Innistrad. And then the top 8 is going to be a vintage cube draft.
Oh, is that like a special event that you have to sign up for? Or is it like, how does it work? I mean, we'll probably talk about it more when the time comes, but...
The week before or something. But it's going to be just like... everyone puts in £5 or like even free just to cover venue and like little costs behind the scenes and stuff, and then it's just bragging rights basically. Oh yeah,
like we did for Legacy Unchained, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
I think we never played that to the finish. Like I was in the semi-finals and then the tournament was stopped. Like what the fuck?
I think there was just like I learned a very good lesson that there was too much Magic for that.
Yeah, we had to bring like 5 decks each every week. And
because I was so excited at the beginning. I was like, oh, all these things I want to do. And then I was kind of enthusiastic for quite a long time playing the decks, but I very quickly realized that everyone was just copying each other and I should have done like one per
everybody just like copied that one Minds Desire deck because you know
because I was the first one to play
win a game.
Yeah. I know. Lessons learned. It was fun.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
Something else that's probably gonna be fun, even though like despite all the talk about, you know, Ragavan and everything, and I can definitely see that, I'm still excited for Eternal Weekend coming up.
Actually,
and just to like quickly
very quickly before we go into that, did we want to talk about what actually did well at Anorek's event?
I guess we can. If you want to point out some more, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought, like, you know, if people are listening along and wondering what actually did well, so we had, I think this is just the Swiss standings. It's on Goldfish, so I'm not sure the exact top 8. Oh, the top 8 was, so Matthew Voot was playing 4-color control, like it's labeled Snoko, but it's just like kind of the 4-color decks with all the good fair cards, Uro and Expressive Iteration stuff. We have Alex Medstal, as we said, on the Blue Red Delver with the Pyromancers. Oliver Everhart, it says Mono Blue Aggro, but that's the blue artifacts, like 8 cast deck. Jason Murray on Death and Taxes. Tony Murata on Cloud Post, Mono Green, who's known for. Randy Larson on like Blood Moon Stompy. Nathaniel Snyder, 4-color combo, which is going to be Tez, I'm pretty sure. Let's just open it up.
No, is it? Oh, yeah, it is.
Yep, that is Tez. And then we have Days on 4-color Loam. It says Loam, I think it was just like kind of 4-color, kind of, the MTG Melee, like, naming conventions are very out of date. This is also a 4-color control deck. It has 2 life from the Loams, but it doesn't have, like, the Mox Diamonds and stuff, so 2 4-color control decks. So it looks like kind of Legacy as we know it now, with some just like a little bit less Delver. How about that?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. No. I mean, you know what I think about like 4-color decks and stuff. I don't hate them, but they don't get me excited at all.
Yeah.
But overall, like it looked like people brought a bunch of different stuff, and yeah,
it's all those decks there. Like keeping in mind deck specialists, like. You don't see Cloud Post top 8 at an event all the time, but then you see it's Tony Murata and you're like, okay, makes sense. All these decks you could totally see at the top of events as well in the last couple of years, and they're just good. So yeah, it makes sense.
Tony is one of my picks for making top 8 at Eternal Weekend, like at one of the events. Tony has been doing really well lately.
I could totally buy that. He's an absolute monster with that deck. It's like he's actually one of my favorite streams, like hands down, probably like top 5.
But he streams?
He hasn't for a little bit. I think he's been maybe something to do with work or just taking a little step back. But he was streaming almost every single weekend. And he's
what's the switch? Is it like into play? Like
online into _play.
Oh, there's so many Tonys in Legacy.
Yeah, but go back and watch his VODs if they're there. He's just like the perfect, super chill, like no loud noises, laid back streamer. And he's just such a master with the deck. You're just like watching in awe. You're just like, God, this play is so good. I didn't think of that. This is amazing. And he explains it all very, very well. And clearly it's just
awesome.
Just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is he the same Tony who used to play Ruby Storm?
No. Don't think so. Which one's that?
And there's a Tony who, like, for a year told me he drives a truck, like a lorry across the US. Yeah. No, and then, like, after a year I learned he totally lied to me. And I was like, dude, all those, like, road trip stories he told me, it's all fake. It's like, yeah.
No, that's Anthony Leverde.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's also a Tony. He's one of the Tonys.
He's a big tone.
Isn't there a Tony Award in the US or something? Anyway.
I think there is a Tony that actually plays Ruby Storm as well.
There must be.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah. Anyway, it's on the weekend.
Yeah, so Eternal Weekend is coming up in slightly more than 7 days. So the first event is going to be on November 19th. Second one, actually, yeah, they're all on that weekend. So it's basically not this weekend, but it's next weekend, right? So they're running from next weekend, 19th to 21st. And those are the legacy events. And a week after, there's going to be the vintage events. And I think it makes sense, even though I guess a lot of people know how they work. A lot of people also don't know how they work. And because we're doing them online again this year, there's this special thing that Wizards of the Coast offers that I think if you ever considered getting into Magic Online, this is the best. Actually, these are the 2 best weeks of the entire year to do that, because you can get a God account on Magic Online for just $25. You can literally have almost every card on Magic Online available, except for, I guess, Rick Steadfast Leader. That was a joke last year, right?
Yes. People were so upset that you couldn't get Rick. Oh my God. Yeah.
And now it's not like, it's so far from ever seeing play. And
also remember when it was going to just ruin the format as well? Like, oh my God.
Every single day.
And the blue-white one, Glenn, was going to like go in blue-white blade and be busted and stuff. Yeah.
Dude, it would have been good 10 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if we had shown people like Ragavan and Expressive Iteration and everything like 10 years ago.
Oh, they would just think it's fake. Like,
yeah,
how can a Savannah Lions be so pushed?
Like, literally 10 years ago, I still played against Savannah Lions in Legacy at times.
Yeah. And then, like, Code 8 was like, lol, you're shit. And then Loam Lion came along. I was like, yeah, let's go.
Oh, yeah, Loam Lion.
Good times.
So, yeah, what I'm saying is you can sign up for these things starting next Monday, so November 15th, I believe that is that. And you sign up, you get a Magic Online account, you go into the store, you buy one of those tokens, it's $25, and then I think you have to close the Magic Online and reload it, and then it's going to give you access to every single card for 2 weeks. And you can not only play in these Eternal Weekend events, you can play in a league, you can play in challenges, you can practice. Like, you have an entire week of practice for Legacy. And then on the weekend, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at different times. So depending on where you live in the world, you might even be able to play in like 2 or 3 of them, or how long you want to stay up, I guess. And then you can play in those. And afterwards, you still get to keep those cards for another week, because then the vintage events are coming up. And you don't even need to play in vintage, right? You don't even need to play in legacy ones. You can just play. And I think for the legacy ones, you have to sign up again, right? So you buy one of those tokens for 25, and then you can play in one of the legacy events. And if you want to play in another one, you play $25 again. But generally speaking, you're going to have those cards for 2 weeks, and that's just like such a great way into Magic Online.
Yeah, the first one, even though I have mana traders that can like rent everything, I even got this just because it is so much nicer. Just not I'd have to go back and forth and stuff. Didn't again. It's just a nice experience. You can do whatever you want. You can play any stupid bullshit combo you want. You can play 4 Horsemen if you want. You know, just
well, yeah. Good luck with that.
Spend your time in a really fun way. Yeah.
Actually, let me see which ones I can play in. So there's this one, November 20th at 1 a.m. in the morning. Well, no. Then the Bayou one, it's 10 a.m. I can play, and the 6 p.m. one I can also play. So I can, Sylvan Library, that's the one I want to win. Sylvan Library is like such sweet art.
10 a.m. is the perfect time to start a tournament as well. God, that's so nice. And you're off. You're just easy.
Yeah.
Hey, you should be playing every single one of these. What the hell?
Yeah, I like the total degenerate that I am.
36-hour stream. Let's go.
I have a feeling that Justin Gennari is probably going to do that for Vintage, right?
Yeah, he's a crazy motherfucker.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And Rich Koval will like record every single one as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So I read the fine print of these tournaments, and I was actually pleasantly surprised that Sneak Attack is banned. Did you notice? Like, Sneak Attack and Sean Teller banned in this event.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you want to know why, like they literally put a sentence in there. This is a skill-based tournament played based on players' ability to defeat other players.
That took me a second when you were saying it. I was like, oh, this is a funny joke. I was like, oh, I see where this is going. Yeah, nice. Well set up.
It wasn't even a setup, like it just came to him. Like, actually, I put it in there because last year there was some kind of like collusion going on with like, hey, you scoop to me, and it happened on stream, and Wizard caught it, and then Andreas. Well, actually, I guess there's no reason, and like shouting out his name. He probably wouldn't want that. But yeah, somebody was disqualified from it. And so I guess Wizards put that in there to really hammer it home that, hey, don't collude and just like play based on skill. And there's not going to be anything like IDs and stuff, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yep, these stupid scooping and banning and everything.
You know what I like as well? The second sentence they put in there. This is absolutely amazing. This is just like really covering all your bases.
Yeah.
If you play in Magic Online tournaments, win, and expect to get your prize, be very, very sure you are playing on your own account. We do not recognize excuses such as, I and my friend jointly own the account, or it's my brother's account, but he gave it to me, or similar.
Yeah, I guess they're just making it as absolutely clear as possible that they must have some laws that they have to follow where like the person's account has to be linked to who gets prizes based off it or something. Tax reasons potentially.
I don't know. Maybe it's also just like, imagine you're like in the finals and you're about to win, and then you're like, you know what? Actually, I want to sell the big painting that I'm gonna get, and I know in the past it sold for like 10,000 or something, and then you're like, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna sell this account as is right now, being in the finals, about to win to somebody else. And
I see. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'm reading too much, but it's probably not happening in Legacy. But with regards to like qualifying for bigger tournaments, like it used to be a thing in PTQs, and I think I've mentioned this before, that I'm at least aware of one case where somebody literally played on their friend's Magic Online account because they were already qualified for the Pro Tour, and their friend was like a Pro Tour grinder who missed out, and they were like, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to play on your account, and oops, I won. Yeah,
it's so hard to track these things as well. It's
basically impossible, right?
Yeah, exactly. Little bugs on the walls or something. Yeah, it's impossible. So yeah, you're going to play in 2 of them? Was that
something like 2? Yeah.
Cool. Unfortunately, I'm just away the whole weekend. I'm going to a Team Warhammer tournament at Warhammer World, so it'll be very fun. But actually, it was just classic Callum planning. I didn't realize it was the same weekend. Otherwise, I'd probably play in at least 2 as well. Maybe try for 3, but that's the breaks. What are some of your predictions? We talked about before where I said I think this blue-red control deck is like, it depends if the Zoomers sign up, because I think they're the ones that are playing it. So if they do, I think they're going to do well. I think the Jarvis Hughes and the Edgar Magahazes of the world will do well in these things as well. You said Tony Murata on Cloud Post. I can see it. I think the top D&T players like XJ Cloud and Luanil will also do very well. Could definitely see one of them taking one down. What do you think?
Yeah, those are basically my picks as well, right? I mean, when you come up with a list that's really geared towards beating a metagame, and you're doing something that misleads your opponent, like with regards to like strategy, or in Arkan's case, tactics, when you all of a sudden start playing these ciphers again and they're unexpected. I think that's something I also really always like to do when I played Elves, for example, in big events. I wanted to have some kind of instant speed thing that throws your opponent off, that does something they didn't expect. And I think that's a really, really big thing. And yeah, I think there's probably gonna be somebody and they're gonna do well, and we'd be like, oh, that's really smart. And that's probably gonna be something for the episode after that. But I'm not even sure what I'm gonna play.
Yeah,
I kind of want to play Elves. I played a little bit of Elves lately again, and did pretty well. I've been enjoying it quite a lot.
Maybe that one in the Sylvan Library one.
Oh, that would be perfect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Bayou as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fair play. Yeah. I also think Anurag might do well. He's got a really good track record. I think he top 8'd 2 of the last ones that weekend.
Yeah. Actually, did he? Because he played. Did he? Actually, I don't remember. He might have, actually.
I think he top 8'd 2 out of 3. I could be completely making that up, but I have a feeling he did. Like, Anurag is an incredible entertainer, but he's also an amazing player. So I think he has a good chance of crushing something.
Awesome. So yeah, let's actually. I'm actually really excited to see how our picks are going to do. Is there something like a fantasy legacy league or something where people can pick players for this?
Maybe make a sheet and post it on Twitter and let everyone make some predictions and see who gets closest.
Maybe we can do that in our Discord. Actually, I would love to do that in the Discord. Like maybe throw up something and like have people either pick players or pick like top 8s or something.
Yeah,
I mean everybody's gonna pick like Blue Red Java, so you gotta make that the most expensive
I think players or like off meta decks. So I think players is a cool thing to do.
Or off meta decks is a nice one. Oh, that's actually really smart, right? So we can just like exclude like Blue Red Delva or something like that, and then like pick 3 off meta decks that we're gonna see in the top 8 or something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna think about it. I like that.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Awesome. So before we close it out today, by the way, I want to give big shout outs to Dukes. Dukes on Twitch. He's back to streaming. I think he took somewhat of a hiatus lately, and I was super, super happy and super surprised to see him back in the streaming game, because he's got one of the most, like you mentioned for the other guy, like for Interplay, for Tony, one of the Tonys.
Yeah.
Duke's got that as well, right? He's like super chill, and I really enjoy his stream, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that again.
He's got the name of, he's the nicest guy in Legacy. There we go. I said it.
I mean, that's pretty much true, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're rivaling him for that, but...
Yeah, no.
Well, the thing is, like, he plays very, very nice decks, and you play pretty mean decks most of the time.
What the fuck? Paint is lovely. It's
Yeah, the deck that wants to destroy my entire memory by like, milling my entire library and everything. Nah, I don't know, man. Dukes is casting Knight of Reliquary, and I haven't seen you doing that yet.
It's been a long, long time.
Yeah. Probably rightfully so.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can't remember the last time I played one of them. It's got to be 3 or 4 years at the very least.
You know, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks we're going to come together and Knight actually won the Legacy tournament.
Oh wait, no, I played it in that like Titan Stompy deck. A little bit.
Oh, true.
One of them.
It's one of those decks that you like co-created and never picked up again.
Yeah, they're all fine for a little bit, and then move on.
And then you want to try something new, something exciting. You're still chasing that high.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's
top high.
I think a lot of people agree. There's tons of decks in this format which are, like, you know, everyone knows the good cards, but there's other ways to slot all these good cards together, and there's definitely things out there like waiting to be discovered and stuff. I don't like the idea of, you know, owning a deck like you're the person that made that deck. I like the idea of decks being discovered and then the Legacy community as a whole, like, you know, makes them better and stuff. I'm scatterbrained, and I have a short attention span, and I get bored of decks incredibly fast. So I like throwing together an idea, making a preliminary like kind of list, and then playing it a bit, and some do well. And then I'm very, very bad at tuning. So I need good players to pick up these things to tune it. Otherwise they kind of just, you know, fall by the wayside and everyone moves on.
So you create like the original draft, like of a new car or a rocket, and then everybody's like, "Oh, this is really smart." But then, like on the third launch, it blows up, and you move on, and somebody else perfects it.
Exactly. Yeah. Might blow up on the second time sometimes, or even the first quite often. But hey, explosions are fun, so that's what we want to do.
Oh, that's why you play Painter, like it has a lot of goblins in it, and goblins like explode. Yeah, I see. Okay, it's all making sense now.
There we go.
Awesome. So guys, if you want to support more of our experiments, make stuff explode, or just like join our Discord, you can do though by supporting us on patreon.com/everydaychannel. Or if you want to help us out big time as well, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts for Everyday Channel. With that, big shoutouts to our Patreons on Eternal Witness tier: Tommy Hinks, Testacular, Sebastian Hollager, Guillaume, Jake, and Severin Schwarzhuber. And Grizzlebrand tier: Victor Bernatz, Bachu Bat, Scott Monroe, Jeremy Gates, Henrik Korkutz, Tom Happ, Bill Schlichting, Joel Grenahead. Sorry, dude, I really tried to look it up. You gotta tell
Joel
me.
Grenade for explosions.
You gotta tell me in Discord, but I like that. And Paragon Games in St. Louis. By the way, we haven't heard of Tom Happ in forever, like legacy-wise. Is Tom secretly gonna take, like, does he have like a secret account that's gonna take Early Trial Weekend?
He's been playing chess. That's what he's been doing. And probably crushing at it. But
probably is.
Maybe he'll come back for Eternal Weekend. Everyone's awaiting his return.
Can you make 2020s in chess? I mean, the Queen is pretty much a 2020, right?
Yeah, the Queen's the Married Age. The witch.
Awesome. So everybody, have a good time. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
By the way, do you know what the card Boom Pile does?
Isn't that a deck?
No, it's a card. Boom Pile.
It sounds like a deck, but what does it do?
Oh, you don't even know. Okay, never mind. We'll finish the podcast there. I'm leaving. Goodbye, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.